What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Aaron here, Off the Scales Fishing. And in today's video, we are talking my confidence baits for the month of September. Let's get into it. So welcome back, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. So the month of September is definitely a transition video, or a transition for these bass, no doubt about it. Man, it was so stinking hot yesterday, and to be honest with you, just haven't really fished a whole lot, but I forced myself to get out there to see what these fish are starting to do. And man, they have absolutely started transitioning. Before we get into these baits, I just wanted to, kind of show you, or kind of talk about some of the subtle little things that I'm starting to pick up on, this time of year, and what you guys can, see if you guys have noticed it as well. Down here in the south, which seems kind of early, I'm already starting to see some leaves starting to fall. Obviously the nights or the days are starting to get shorter. The nights are getting just a little bit cooler. Not last week, but the week before, we had a couple cooler mornings. And these are all these little subtle things that I'm picking up on that tell me that, man, these bass are going to start transitioning. And I swear to God, as soon as they notice it, something goes off in their head, and man, they just start feeding more, they start transitioning. Man, it's just crazy how fast it happens, and it's pretty wild to me. But I'm gonna give you guys all the best baits in no particular order, mind you, because I decided I'm not gonna do top 5 baits or what everybody's doing. I'm just gonna start doing my confidence baits for each month for you guys. Probably just more like a category type thing. So anyway, something else you can kind of look for too, that I noticed, when you're out on the lake, you're going to start seeing a lot more grass up at the surface. That grass is starting to die off a little bit, and there's just another telltale sign right there that bass are going to, in your weedy lakes, they're going to start leaving that grass, and they're going to start they'll start moving their way to, the greenish grass, and they'll just continue to keep moving, as they, transition into different areas. They're going to move to rocks and, wood and lay downs and things like that. And then as the water temperature comes down, they'll even push a little bit more shallow, and so will the bait. And that's where, a lot of these baits are going to start coming into play that I'm going to share with you. So, first and foremost, let's kick it off with Topwater, man, because Topwater is going to be a huge player these next couple months. And I got a brand new one for you guys. It's the Heddon or Heddon spinning image. Okay, so this is like their version of the Whopper Plopper. I just got to call it a Whopper Plopper because that's just what I'm used to. But this is called the Heddon or Heddon spin image. Right off the bat, the things that I'm going to talk about are some things that I've already had some time to play with this bait. And right off the bat, it's definitely a more of a subtle, more finesse type Whopper Plopper. It's a little bit more streamlined, as you guys can see. I noticed that you can't burn this as much as like a river to sea Whopper Plopper, stuff like that. It's really kind of meant to be, kind of creeped or whatever. Fish a little bit slower on a slower retrieve. Because if you try to burn it, and I typically fish it on 30, I throw all my top waters on a medium action rod and 30 to 40 pound braid. Well, if you burn it or whatever, it tends to roll over a little bit, and it doesn't run right. So I noticed that right off the rip with this bait. So, you know, you kind of have to slow it down a little bit. And like I said, I think it's meant to fish like that because it's a little bit more of a finesse, you know, type bait or whatever. So, another thing I noticed is in the tail here, they had drilled a hole right there in the tail. If you guys can see that, which, you know, what it allows it to do is leave a really cool bubble trail, which is great, you know. So that's pretty much, you know, the spinning image right there. It's definitely going to get some bites this fall, man. I would think between, you know, this and a buzz bait is just going to be absolutely killer, you know, all through the fall. No question about it. In the fall, man, you can catch them on topwater all day long. That's the greatest thing about fall. It's not always just a morning or evening thing like it is in the summer. So you guys check that bait out, fish some topwater this fall, and you're gonna have a whole lot of fun. So moving on to the next bait, man, it is square bill season, y'all. Man, I love throwing a little square bill. Real quick before I get into this particular square bill, I'm going to, in the fall time, you really want to dial all your baits back to smaller baits. Okay, so for instance, this Ray Japan level square bill, it's you know, I think it's even smaller than a 1.5, to be honest with you. It's I really like to try to match the hatch this time of year, and I don't know what it is about the fall, but man, these bass just really key in on small bait. The bass are you know, hunting in wolf packs. They're schooled up pretty good right now. So you know, it's just you know, it's time to break out the smaller baits, guys, in your shad and bluegill pattern. I mainly fish shad pattern just because I feel like they're keying in on that just a little bit more. So I love this little Ray Japan level crankbait. You guys can check that one out. This one's in I think it's called an olive shad color. I just love that color. It's got a little pink on the belly there. So that's going to be, you know, my second top bait. This time of year, man, it's all about covering water. It's this time of year, I don't necessarily try to pattern fish as much because it seems like the majority of the fish are schooled up and they're just busting shad all over the place. So they're, you know, you can even see it on your graph, man. Like, you know, you'll be looking on your graph and typically, you know, the bait will be all balled up and real tight. Well, not this time of year. I've already noticed on the graph that the shad will just be, the balls will just be busted all to hell. And that's from the bass just absolutely crushing them right now. You know, they're going to feed up super heavy these next couple months before they go into their winter hunts. So that's two hard baits down right there. Let's get into the next hard bait, and you talk about a bait that you can cover some freaking water with, and man, that's what it's all about in the fall, is covering water, I think. And that's going to be a lipless crankbait. This lipless crankbait is one of my favorites because it's small, it's tiny, it's going to match the hatch, and this is one of my favorites right here, and it's the Jackall TN70 in the 70 size. Man, you can fish a lipless so many different ways, covers so much water, you know, burning it. One way I really like to fish it is bottom hopping it, and you can be super aggressive. I like a lipless with some rattles in it this time of year, and I like to put that treble with that little blade on it, okay, because this time of year, the bass gets so keyed in on so much bait that, you know, having that little extra flash can get you a lot more bites. So rattles, more flash, you know, will definitely get you some more bites. I'm noticing a lot of these fish are, you know, as the water, our temps down here and the water temps are still like, you you know, mid 80s, and they'll kind of warm up during the day. So I like a lipless that's a little bit heavier, that will get down faster. You know, I really like to bottom bounce it, you know, right now, and I'll fish it super aggressively. I'll fish it out there, let it hit the bottom, and rip it back up. You know, I just, man, a lipless is just tough to beat this time of year. So that's the third hard bait. Moving on to a deep diver or a mid depth crank, and you know, like I said, the fish are still fairly deep right now, and this is a great way to catch them in the transition. You know, as they're moving to deeper water to kind of shallower water. So especially bait, you know, or bass that are on, you know, just bait. So, and a deep crank is another great way to fire up a school. So you're drop shotting or whatnot, and that bite dies off, or vice versa. If you start with a crank, this is a great way to fire that school back up. So one of my favorite cranks for the past, well, ever since they came out and I've been fishing it, has got to be this Tactical DD crank. Man, it just catches them all year long. It's got a, you know, a pretty tight wobble. The wobble, to me, you can fish all year long and catch them. Usually in the hot summer months, you usually want to crank with a little wider wobble, but this kind of covers all the spectrums of it. So Tactical DD crank or a mid-depth crank is absolutely killer. So that's going to do it for the hard baits. Moving on to a swim bait, man. You always got to have a swim bait tied on. Either that be a Kitech or what have you, but I'm going to give you guys to me the best overall swim bait on the market right now, and that's that Xzone Swammer. This thing has phenomenal action. To me, the best action out of all swim baits on the market right now. And I like the 4-inch this time of year. I usually go to the 3-inch, the 3.5, or the 4-inch, and the 4-inch to me is about perfect. And I'll fish that on the underspin or an owner flashy swimmer. Once again, I like that extra flash this time of year, guys. So, you know, I absolutely love this color, an electric shad. Man, I've been fishing this thing, and I'll get a ton of bites right at the boat. It's just a super realistic, just awesome little bait, man. And when you fish it on, you know, that owner flashy swimmer on underspin, to me it just shines, man. Just a phenomenal swim bait. So that's going to be the swim bait that I throw. Moving on to the next kind of category, and we're all in like the finesse type categories now. So is going to be your Damiki rig, man, and that Armour Shad in the 3-inch. Damiki head, you know, they make their own head, which is more kind of like a darter head. Man, this thing, there's just so many freaking ways to fish this thing. Almost kind of like the lipless, but a little bit more finessey, because it's smaller, obviously, and this is just going to match the hatch perfectly. You know, I think a Damiki rig is just absolutely deadly this time of year when they're schooled up. I mean, you can vertical fish it. You know, you can see them on the graph, vertical fish it, rip it off the bottom. Man, you're just going to catch the snot out of them on the Damiki rig. So, man, you guys check that one out and fish it a lot this fall. Right now, it is a huge player. And then, you know, we'll get into the drop shot. I'm going to share a couple new baits for you guys and a couple new drop shot hooks. So Xzone has come out with their whole Stealth Finesse series of baits. They got some crawl baits, and then this one right here is called the Stealth Minnow. This is the 2.75, and they recommend a drop shot hook in the size 1 or the size 2. That's the main size that I use. You know, probably about 90% of the time. And I'll tell you what, man, I am sponsored by Spearpoint, and man, I swear by these Spearpoint hooks, man. I love their EWGs. I love their off-shank worm hook for the big worm, and this drop shot hook is no different. What's so unique about these Spearpoint hooks, guys, is it's got the V-grip technology, and I'll tell you what, when a fish comes up to jump or tries to shake, head shake, it's got that little notch in the hook right there, and it pins them. It pins those fish really, really good. And these drop shot hooks are just going to be, you know, no different from all of them. They make an exceptional hook. I absolutely love them. So I'm going to nose hook that guy on the new Stealth Minnow. Okay, is going to be one of my favorites. And then I've been fishing the Finesse Slammer. And this is a 3.25, so I'm gonna nose hook all these baits on these drop shot hooks, man. And I'll tell you what, when the bite gets tough, man, you just cannot beat fishing a tiny little minnow on a drop shot hook. You know, it's just, I mean, they're gonna bite it, man, no matter what. It's that good. So I'm sure you guys know about the drop shot, but that's the ultimate finesse technique, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Other than what I'm about to share with you, and this is the last category on my baits. So of course that's got to be the hover stroll, bottom stroll, mid stroll, you know, whatever you want to call it, man. This is obviously taken over bass fishing, you know, in the past year or so, and man, I love this technique. Goes hand in hand with forward-facing sonar, but you absolutely do not have to have it. Man, I catch the crap out of them on the hover stroll, and I love it. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of the ball jig heads that I fish. And one of my favorites is the BMC in the 3/16 ounce ball head right there. And I pair it up with the Rapala Crush City Freeloader. You guys are absolutely going to want the two-tone baits, because when this thing is rolling, you know, it's going to look that much more realistic to, you know, the bass. And, you know, they just come unglued for this thing. You know, they're coming out with obviously a ton of different, if you guys have been paying attention, you know, a ton of different, you know, hover stroll baits. I'm definitely going to pick some more up as they come out and get released. It's probably going to be this next year before, you know, a lot of them are going to get released. There's a ton out right now, but you know, a lot of the really, really good ones are going to be hitting the market here soon. So definitely going to pick some more of those up for you guys, and I'll share some videos with you guys on those. But one new hook, one new ball head that I wanted, or jig head that I wanted to share with you guys is the Queen Tackle Rollin Strollin jig head. Okay, Cast was nice enough to send me some of these hooks, or these ball head jig hooks, and I'll tell you what, you know, typically on your normal ball head for the hover stroll, it's a 90-degree line tie. You know, just like this one right here on the BMC, that's typically what you see. But on this one, look where the line tie is on this guy. It's way back there. So what that's going to do is give it that much more side-to-side roll. And man, these things are just going to be the ultimate roll action, okay? That's going to be pretty cool. Cast has already gave some underwater footage to, you know, the Cast Echoes that they came out with, which is a phenomenal little bait in the 5.4 and the 3.2. Man, you guys should go check that footage out, because that's what this hook is showing on that bait. So wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys are big into hover strolling, that right there is going to be the juice for that. So man, I know that was a lot of baits, and that's a lot of the reason I'm not going to do top 5 baits anymore, because there's just so much to cover nowadays. So I'm going to try to start breaking it down in categories. But I promise you, you know, if you guys go fish some of these baits, you know, start dialing it down a little bit into smaller shad and smaller profiles, you guys are going to get a lot more bites, put a lot more fish in the boat. And going into this transition month, man, get out there on the water and enjoy it. And you know, I appreciate the support as always, guys. I'm getting closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers, so you guys please help me get there. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do hit that little notification bell. And man, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys on the next video. Thanks.